Hi guys, welcome to the speed build video in The Sims 4. My name is Irene and today I am building Halo, a circular house. A couple of things that inspired me to do this build today. My main inspiration was one of my own builds, Orb, a spherical house I did a couple of weeks ago, and I had so much fun with that build, with something totally different, a totally different shape in the game. But while I was doing that build, I was really focused on the possibility to create a shape like that in the game, and I wasn't really focused on functionality. Later on I took notice that when you pull the build orb from the gallery and you place it in your game, the entire bottom half of the orb just collapsed on the ground because I didn't place foundation underneath it. Of course, I removed that to make the entire thing just float in the air. So yeah, I loved doing that build with a different shape, but I wanted to do a build too with that shape, or not really an orb this time, it's a circle, but with that round shape, but I wanted to focus on functionality as well. So of course I will put this build up on the gallery so you can put it in your game and really play around with it. I play tested it, it worked. Another thing that inspired me to do this build was this picture. Man, it's so cool, and of course the end result of this build looks totally different, as you could see on the thumbnail and in the intro, but I especially love that look of that massive waterfall in the middle of that circle. Of course I couldn't recreate that in the game, the huge waterfall, but I still could do something with it. And these two mountains with a circle in the middle of it, and especially that I wanted to try to recreate that in the game. And I wanted to make, you cannot see that on the reference picture or inspiration picture that I used, but I wanted to do something with an upside down garden with hanging plants. Oh well, we get all into that. Let's just dive into this video here today. As you can see, the entire circle of the house, the circle shape is already finished here. And for me, it was kind of the easy part because I already knew how to do it because I did that spherical house. It's actually not that difficult. You just have to combine a lot of roofs together. Just the bottom half are 4 roofs, the upper half are 4, of course. And you have these in the middle level, just these walls. I noticed when you place in these walls in the middle, it looks like a circle, and when you don't place walls in the middle and just roofs, it looks like an oval. So that's why I place these walls in, and I could really use them later on as the place where I wanted to make rooms for the separate rooms. There will be a bathroom and a kitchen later on, if I'm correct. Of course, I had to use that method with removing walls underneath roofs again in this build as well. I made a video about it. It's called Leave. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out if you want. But in that video, I get more into that method, how to remove walls underneath roofs. But it basically comes down to this. You want to use doors underneath these walls, underneath the roofs. When you place a door on it and when you size it down, you still have that gap on the wall underneath the roof. And then you can raise the door up to make that gap in the wall underneath the roof bigger, and that way you can make these walls disappear. So that's basically the method that I wanted to use here as well. I did it at the bottom half too, and it wasn't even necessary because I covered it up with the mountain, of course, but it still was very satisfying for me to know that even when it's covered up, I still made these walls disappear. So that's why I did it, but of course later on you can see it in the upper half as well. But talking about this mountain or this cliff underneath this house or around this house, I talked about methods to create mountains underneath houses before, and there's 2 methods you can go for. The first one is create a house first and build the mountain underneath it. or the other one is build the mountain first and create the house on top of it or in it. And yeah, it just depends on what you're building, and what you're building requires a different method. And for this house, I had to make the house first, of course, and after that I made that mountain underneath it because I wanted to follow that circle shape. When you have one half of the circle shape finished, when you want to recreate something like this, I recommend you to start with just the left or the right half first. Because when you have that in the perfect shape, just manipulate it until you're very happy with that shape that you made. After that you can just copy all these roofs on the other side, and in that way really make it symmetrical. Do you remember the old days at the beginning of The Sims 4 when you didn't have toddlers and did we have pools? I don't even remember anymore. I think we didn't even have pools, but we couldn't copy items or objects or roofs or rooms as well. But now we can. So in that way, yeah, we can. I could really make this symmetrical. So that's a very easy method to use. You can see that method with making the walls disappear underneath the roofs here. I just sized these doors down and then I raised them up. I used the doors that came with Island Living. There are 4 squares wide, and yeah, I think they are the easiest doors to use for this method because there are 4 tiles wide. But of course I got stuck with all these lines in it, but that wasn't that bad because I wanted to make this hanging garden here with all these hanging plants. I know it isn't possible in real life, but this whole entire build isn't really possible in real life, I thought, and I just thought it looked cool. And of course I had to cover up all these doors that I use. I could do it with items as well, or lower them down a bit, or make another layer there, but I just thought it looked so crazy with this upside down garden here. And it's a futuristic build, it's a fantasy build, so I thought I could get away with it. I used a lot of debug plants there, and I used a lot of debug rocks in the mountain as well. If you want to enter these debug items, you have to use a double cheat. And I will put the cheats that I used in the description box down below. But yes, as you can see, it's a very futuristic fantasy build. And talking about futuristic, there was something going on Twitter last week. I wasn't that invested in Twitter last week because my computer broke down. That's why I missed a video last Friday. I'm so sorry. I was so stupid. I was just done with building something and I wanted to shut my computer down, but it had to update and it took a while. So then I just got a drink or something. I was doing something else and then I went back to my computer and I thought, oh, I still have to shut it down. So I pressed the off button, the shutdown button. I'm sure there's another word for it. But yeah, I shut my computer down while it was updating. So when I wanted to start it up again, Windows didn't start. And man, I was so scared because the last time my computer broke down, I had to do without it for 4 weeks. And of course, I didn't want to go without building or recording or YouTube for 4 weeks. So I brought it to a friend of mine and he actually managed to make the entire thing in 2 days. So I was so happy that I was back now. But I was talking about Twitter and there was something going on last week. The sim gurus were tweeting different letters after each other on Twitter. And in that way you could make a sentence. And I really had to write this down before recording. But I don't remember what the sentence really was. But it was something like the future is coming, or future for the Sims. And later on we found out it had something to do with the future cube. There's a future cube in the game. Of course, I'm building a lot in the game and not really invested in the gameplay. But every once in a while when a new pack is here, I want to see all the new things. So then I'm playing the game just as a sim. And there's a future cube as well. And I saw it before, but I never really used it before. But it basically predicts the future. And yeah, it had something to do with future, with the future cube. And now there's a whole speculation about maybe there's a futuristic pack coming for The Sims 4. And man, I would be so happy with the futuristic pack. I couldn't even imagine. With a new world and all the new possibilities. And yeah, it would be the most amazing pack for me at this point in time. But I saw a lot of people on Twitter a bit complaining about the futuristic pack as well. A lot of people wanting a farm pack or different packs. So I'm very curious on what you think about it. Please let me know in the comments down below. Do you want a futuristic pack? Or do you want the farm pack? Or do you want something else? Please let me know. But of course, for me, with a lot of futuristic builds, a futuristic pack would be a dream. And I really hope they put these glass walls in a futuristic pack. Because if I remember it correctly, in The Sims 2 or The Sims 3 with the futuristic pack came glass walls as well. And I think glass walls would totally change the build game. And man, but I'm very curious. I think in this week or maybe a week later, maybe a new pack will be announced, but we will see what it will be. I will be happy with every single pack because I'm always happy with new content for the game. There's a new stuff pack coming as well, a knitting stuff pack. I'm not totally sure about it because I don't know if I could do something with it according to building. Of course, I'm a pure builder and I'm not totally sure what I could do with that. But like I said, I'm happy with every new item, with every new thing in the game because it adds new possibilities. So I'm very curious if there will be a new futuristic pack, but maybe there will be. And I would be so happy. But let's go back to this build, of course, totally off topic. As you can see, I made stairs at the back of this mountain, at the back of this build. You couldn't see it at the front of it, and that's what I wanted to have here because I didn't want to show it at the front. But it was very important for the entire functionality of this build, and there was something that I didn't do with that orb house as well. You had to teleport to enter it, and of course it's an easy cheat, but I still wanted to make a house that you could use without cheats as well. I made this waterfall. I'm working on that right now. I love that look of the waterfall, that inspiration picture that I used. Like I said at the beginning of this video, of course, it wasn't possible to make that huge waterfall that I saw on the picture, but I still wanted to do something with it because I thought it just added something extra to the game. I used the debug waterfall that came with Island Living for it. Like I said, if you want to know how to unlock these debug items, you can check out the cheats that I used in the description box down below. But I used this one for it. There are some debug waterfalls that came with Discover University as well, but they have a different color and they don't look the natural. And of course you can use water emitters, spraying water emitters. You can find them in the fountain section in the build menu. And I tried some things with it, whole trial and error process. Of course I didn't put that in the video, but I just didn't like the look of it. I thought it looked so strange, so that's why I went with these waterfalls that came with Island Living. And especially later on, or you can see it already here, I placed these steam crates on the ground underneath the waterfall, just on the ground in the pool. And I really thought it gave it a little bit more realism with that steam on the ground here that I used. I used a lot of plants on all the rocks here, of course, as well, that I used to make this entire mountain. There are rocks that are debug rocks as well, Island Living too. I decided to go for a tropical look with this build. I thought with that whole futuristic thing and with I will put in some palm trees later on and a lot of other trees everywhere. I just thought thought it gave the whole build a cool look in that way, but it totally isn't fitting in the world where I'm building this in. Normally I always talk about blending the environment with the environment surrounding the lot with the lot itself, but no, not today. I still had to use this lot for it because we didn't have a 64 by 64 lot in Sulani. Very unfortunate. And I wanted to use this a lot because of the third color, and I talked about that in my previous video too. In that cliff house I'm using this lot is a 64 by 64 lot in Brindleton Bay, the world that came with cats and dogs. And you have the third color. When you raise up ground in the game, you always get stuck with that color of the ground, and that you cannot paint with the rain paint, and it's a different color in a lot of different worlds, but in this world it has this darker brown color, and it just fitted the mountains that I used and the rocks that I used the best. It was just the best color. And I wanted to use a lot with an ocean at the back of it and the light at the front, of course. But I wanted to have that ocean at the back because I wanted to make that circle, and I thought it looked a little bit cooler, a little bit more impressive, where you could really see it through that circle. And when I used a lot, for example, the lot that came with the Jungle Adventure pack, the world there, El Salvadorada, I think it's called. It comes with a great 64 by 64 lot as well. It's in the jungle, and I used a lot of jungle adventure plants here too, so it would be very fitting. But you have a huge mountain at the back of the lot, and I just thought it looked a little bit less impressive where you have that mountain at the back of the build. I just thought it looks a bit cooler where you have that ocean, you could really see through that circle. So that's why I went with this lot. And if you want to use this build and where you have cats and dogs, I recommend you to use this lot as well, because you can see a lot of that dirt color. And I think when you place it in Windenburg, for example, on that 64 by 64 lot on the island, it looks very different because the dirt color is a bit more gray brown or something. Oh well, we're onto the interior right now. Luxurious bathroom with a rounded jacuzzi. I wanted to go for a lot of round shapes here. I wanted to go for a very modern, kind of futuristic, not really, but very modern look here with a lot of gray and black and concrete. I thought it looked the best in this build. In the other room you could see the kitchen. I just did that, and there are two terraces down, and one of them will be the living room with sofas, and the other one will be the bedroom. But I decided to go for the sleeping pod here. You can see him here. Normally I never go for that item. I think I used it once before in a Star Wars themed build, but I thought for this very futuristic build it was so fitting, and especially when I play tested this build and the sim entered that sleeping pod and the sleeping pod is floating above the ground, it just looked so cool. So that's why I went with it. And here are a couple of sofas, and then we're on the end of this video already. I truly hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know what you thought about this build. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I try to do a lot of different things. I love to talk about different building techniques. So if you like that, please subscribe. I promise you guys I will be back this Friday with a new build, a new video of course. I hope you guys will have a good day today, and I hope to talk to you next Friday. Goodbye!